Hello, my darlings. Welcome back to Miss Abled Cooking. Today we are making pulled pork tacos using an Instapot, which is a pressure cooker. First, you're going to need half a cup of taco seasoning with 2 tablespoons of your favorite seasoning salt mixed in, and then 1 cup of your favorite salsa. I am using Red River Ranch green chili chipotle relish. I'll leave a link in the description below on how to get that. And then also I have 4 pounds of pork shoulder. And what I'm doing is I'm just trimming off the fat, and I'm going to eventually cube it. But I don't want all of that fat in there because if it adds flavor, yes. But if you cook it with all that fat, it makes it really greasy. And I don't particularly want that. So I'm just going to trim off all this fat and then cut the shoulder into cubes. There is a bone in there, and I'm going to cut around that bone, but also put the bone in the pot. You'll see this later. Some butcheries or some stores have this already cubed and trimmed. You can totally buy that and make this so much easier. Or you can just put the whole thing in there. If you want to just cut the fat off on the outsides, you can put the whole thing in the pot and it will be fine. You just need to add an hour to your cooking time. So you'll see here how I've cut everything into, it doesn't have to be uniform, but I've cut them all into about 2-inch cubes-ish. And then while I'm finishing this up, Red River Ranch is one of my favorite chopped contestants of all time is Cowboy Chef Kent Rollins. That is his ranch, and I have a link to his website down below where you can buy his 2 products and the 2 products I used. And so you see I'm putting all the meat in there, and then I have that bone sticking out, and I'm going to add in the seasonings, which I used his Mesquite seasoning, and then also the Chipotle, which will be later, and then just your standard taco seasoning. And then I'm mixing that all in together so that the seasonings get all over the meat and all over the bone, and then I put in the salsa or the green chili chipotle relish that Chef Kent has, and I just mix that all together. I'm gonna make sure I seal the lid on tight for the Instapot. You don't want it to vent. You want it to be sealed so that you can get that pressure. And I'm setting it on high for an hour and a half. Once again, if you left that pork shoulder whole, set it for 2 hours or 2.5 hours. But since I cut it into chunks, it will take far less time to cook. And then while I have it on, I'm having it naturally lose its pressure after I cooked it. And once it's done cooking, you can prepare all of your toppings. Here I have queso fresco, and that just takes a little bit of work of breaking apart and crumbling it between your fingers as much as you want. I like to wear gloves because I don't like the feeling of it, and I didn't want to have to get up and wash my hands again. I also, if you can see, have black beans that I warmed up, and then white corn tortillas. And on the side, you can see that I was joined by san for this part of it. And so then just taking off the gloves, and it's kind of a sticky cheese. It will, not sticky, but it will cling to your hands if you don't, if you do it by hand. And I don't like that, so that's why I wore gloves. And then my next thing is I'm going to chop up a lime. I am topically allergic to citrus, so I can't, if I cut a citrus without gloves on, I have a allergic reaction, so that's why I put gloves on for this. I'm going to cut it in half and then just cut it into wedges. It doesn't really matter how you do it, just cut it into wedges as you like. It can be fourths, or in this case, I'm showing 2 different ways you can cut it, where you just continuously flip it down over and then cut at an angle. And then do the same for any smaller ones that you want to. to make them smaller. And then putting that in a bowl aside, or you can just cut it in half and then cut each of those halves in half again. It really doesn't matter, just two different ways that you can do this. And normally you would chop up a jalapeno. I didn't have one at the time that I was making this, so I'm chopping up a serrano pepper. It's actually a fair amount hotter than a jalapeno, but if you like that, absolutely do it. Another thing you can do if you want to add spice to your pork is you can get some chipotle and adobo and then chop them up and mix them in when you put in the relish or the salsa. You can mix it in there or use a spicy salsa. And I'm letting San smell that and seeing what her opinion is of it, and she didn't care. And that's your tacos. That's everything you need, really. If you like any other toppings for your tacos, absolutely do that. I accidentally scared San here. It wasn't fully depressurized, so I did turn the little knob to vent, and I scared the poor kitty, but that's fine. She'll be fine. But anyways, whatever toppings you like to put on your tacos, whatever things you like to do, get those prepared before you pull the pork so everything is ready. Once you pull the pork, everything is set and you're ready to go. Another reason to cube up the pork is it makes pulling it easier when you get to this stage. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just start shredding it to make sure it's at the doneness that I want. If it pulls apart easily, then you're good to go. If it takes a little pressure, a little force, then put it in for a little bit longer. Just restart the pressure cooking process. And then I'm getting the garbage sack ready because I'm getting the bone out there. The reason why I left the bone is it does have some meat on there and it's just easier than trying to cut that off is to let the bone cook in there. And it added a lot of extra flavor to the actual juices that you see down there. So once I pick off the meat, I'm going to take that bone out and just throw it away. And then pull that closer so I can see better. And then if you saw, I pulled off a portion from the bone that was really fatty. So I'm pulling off the meat from that and then throwing away the fat part. And you can either use a fork and tongs or two tongs, like you just grab the cube with the tongs and kind of squish it, like wiggle them back and forth, and it will pull it apart. Or you can use two forks and just stab and pull, as you can see I'm kind of doing here. And I'm looking for other pieces, and that's just, when you have it in a big piece, it just takes longer to do it. It's a little bit more work, but with a bunch of little pieces, it makes it a lot easier because those meat strands, I can't think of the proper word for it, have already been cut, so you don't have as long of pieces. And once they're all pulled apart, I'm looking here for hidden cubes. Just mix it in that sauce and you just have that really delicious sauce in the bottom there that you can mix your pork into and make yourself some tacos. It's really easy and really delicious. You can use the same recipe for chicken if you don't eat pork, but here you go. I hope you enjoy these and let me know what you think in the comments below. I wanted to say thank you so much for watching. You guys are amazing. Please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to support me, my Patreon's in the description below. Have a wonderful day and love you.